Hello and welcome to the Rabblecast. My name is Eric Hernandez, and you are listening to episode number 606. I'm pumping my fists because I'm excited. I just finished recording. I'm doing the intro on the back end. Yeah! I'm going to let the episode speak for itself, so I'm not going to linger too much longer here. You can check out the show over at rabblecast.libsyn.com. You can also check us out at our home over at insidepulse.com. The show is back on YouTube, youtube.com/Rabblecast. Let's see what else. Check out the Rabblecast Facebook fan page. Send us a tweet at Rabblecast. Email us, rabblecast@gmail.com. I think that's about it. Again, I make a call to action during the episode. So give me some feedback, give me some emails, give me some comments, give me something. I have gotten a few comments and emails, and they're much appreciated. So far, everybody seems to be liking the return. I hope that continues. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, let's get into it and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this low-key anniversary episode of the Rabblecast. Yes, I say low-key and I say anniversary because, as of earlier this week, on the 16th, which was the recording date, the 17th, which was the release date of the Rabblecast back in '06. So right now we are celebrating 17 years. And I say low-key because I really don't like... I dislike odd number anniversary. It's like when something comes out like a film or a TV show, you're like, we're celebrating 19 years. Okay. Congratulations on 19 years. Or in this case, 17 years. I would much rather wait until 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, whatever the case is. I remember when we went to New York Comic Con a few years back. It was like 2015 or 16. I know, a little ways back. And they were celebrating 75 years of Batman. I'm like, wow, 75 years. Think about that. Big 7-5 they had on the signs on the floor, the posters. They had nice little exhibits set up with different costumes, gadgets, and everything else. It looked really, really cool. And I thought to myself, that's pretty cool. That's a number to behold, 75. And I remember a couple years back, I know I mentioned this a few episodes ago, when I sat down 2 years ago, and I did the 15-year episode, 15-year anniversary. And I felt good about it, but I think I got in my head about it a little too much. And it kind of threw me off a little bit to the point where you will never hear that episode. Trust me, it's garbage. I did away with it for a reason, and I didn't want to burden you when it comes to listening to that episode. So I figured, I'll save everybody the hour or whatever it was that I was trying to do something, because it just, again, it felt weird. So I'm not gonna harp on it too much. But 17 years, like I said, I've put this much time into this project at this point, this podcast, this show, whatever you want to refer to it as, this labor of love, which I always call it, that I figured, let's try and see what can come of this still. I don't know what's going to happen going forward. I'm going to try my best to cover different things, and hopefully give you some entertainment, and hopefully give you some news. I always aspire to try to learn something new every day. So if I can get a little tidbit, a little trivia, I always like that. Sometimes I'll stay up late at night and I'll do a deep dive on either YouTube, Wikipedia, or maybe even IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, if you're not familiar with that. I love going there because usually what I'll do is I'll watch a movie, whether it's on a streaming platform or in the theaters. And then usually when I have some downtime afterwards, like maybe before I go to bed or if I take a bathroom break, whatever the case is, I will stop, check out IMDb, look up the trivia. They have a little trivia section, and I will go down and read all the information that's available there. Sometimes they'll repeat things, especially if it's a big movie. There's a lot of stuff to go through. But sometimes you'll find little nuggets, little things that you you wouldn't normally come across on a website or a story review, whatever the case is. And I'll go through and have some fun. Give it a shot sometimes. It's always fun to see what you can learn and see what you can come across. But again, 17 years, we're going to keep it low key. We're just going to enjoy 17 and the return of the show. And then maybe in a couple of years, we can all celebrate when it's a big thing. How's that? Sounds good? So I've got 2 to 3 years to hopefully build this to a point and, oh God, no pressure, right? And hopefully we can come up with something that'll be, worthy of a bigger celebration, worthy of having things going on. I know we've done stuff in the past where we had guests and everything else, but this one's going to be quiet. Things are still getting worked out. Bugs are still being addressed and everything else. The show is back on YouTube. If you haven't noticed, for some reason, there was an issue where the authentication from one end didn't go to the other end. Things had to get refreshed. Log out, log in, cancel this, refresh that. All I can say is the support team at Libsyn did a fantastic job, helped me out, addressed my problem, got things going again. I just had to wait after that, a little patience, and then I saw that it updated. So, was it 604 and 605? If you have not listened to those previous, 604 being the return episode, 605 I got back into it, talking about the writer's strike in Guardians 3. It's all up there. So you have different options, and I'm going to still push to try to get these other platforms going as well. I mean, it's just a matter of filling out information and getting the right data to where it needs to go. Data or data, whatever you say. And hopefully I'll give you more options. That way you can't tell me, well, I don't have an iPhone. I think you can still get podcasts if you don't have an iPhone. Come on, people. It's it's 2023. Let's get with it. But currently, I do know for a fact, YouTube, Libsyn itself, Inside Pulse, and Apple Podcasts, you have 4 options currently that are still fresh and viable. Check them out. Let us know what's going on. Oh, and this is a call to action for all of you out there. If this is coming across your speakers, if this is going in your ears, into your head, and rattling around somewhere in your brain, do me a favor, wherever you listen to the show, post a comment, hit like, subscribe, leave a review. I was reading through some of the old reviews, and I'm talking about old. I mean, I saw some old friends leave some old reviews, and it was very much appreciated, but I want to hear from you. If you have been listening for a long time, 17 years, long time. If you're brand new and somebody said, hey, you should check this out, these guys are coming back. Currently, it's just me, but more guys will be coming back. We'll see what happens, and we'll do more things. Who knows? It'll be Rabble and Friends, right? Why not? See what we can do. But yes, rate, review, subscribe, comment, feedback, people, feedback. Give me some more stuff to go off of, because otherwise I'm sitting here staring off into the void, and it's not easy. To do this for however long it takes to fill an episode by myself, I'm going to go mad by the end of the month. All right? And I think we're midway through the month at this point, so help me out, people. All right, let me get into a few things. Because part of the difficulty of doing this by myself is trying to fill the episode with content that's fun. So it's not just me making a dumb joke and laughing off to the side like I usually do. I'm trying to give you things that will hopefully be relevant, that's not beaten to death by other news outlets or pop culture websites. Different things, hopefully. And again, if whatever you guys want to hear about, whatever you guys want me to cover, I'll give it a shot and see what I can do. I can't promise I'm going to get back into wrestling. I tried a little bit, and it's very time consuming. It really is. And there's one thing to read the dirt sheets and everything else, but I would really like to sit and enjoy. And it's not as easy to do that as I used to do back in the day. Before I could dedicate some time, even if I gave myself like a half-hour buffer, and I would fast forward through on our DVR, I could catch up on different things and remove the commercial breaks, remove the promos that weren't great sometimes, go back, or if I heard one was worth listening to. But especially with between WWE and AEW, I don't even remember the last time I saw an Impact Wrestling match, but I did hear some former WWE stars were debuting or appearing on TNA again. So good for them. I mean, they're still going. They're still pushing it out there. It's still an alternative for people who need work and need a paycheck. So the fact that that's still pushing, kudos to them. I always like the underdog, and I don't think TNA is really going to be doing much competition these days, but they are still out there. They're still doing their thing. Now it's really WWE, AEW, and I think Ring of Honor is still doing some shows. I know they had some stuff going around Mania weekend, but like I haven't heard a big thing from Ring of Honor in a while. So, and again, it's not that I'm being disrespectful. I'm out of the loop. So hopefully I'll get back to different things and we'll see what happens. But otherwise, I'm going to cover a few things that everybody else is listening to. More importantly, I want to try to give an update on the writer's strike. Again, if you have not been listening or you do not know what's going on, the writer's strike, or the Writers Guild of America, East and West, have been on strike since May 2nd. So now we're, third week in? So that's 10th, no, 9th, 6th, yes, third week in. And nothing seems to be budging so far. Now, that's neither good nor bad. I mean, they're out there, so that means a lot of things are going to be affected by this, as I mentioned before. I have a list here going off of different projects that have either been delayed or canceled or just in limbo. So we'll see what happens. I'll give you a few read off the list a little bit and give you a lowdown. So we'll see what happens there. But again, they're going over the streaming rights for residuals, being that the pay scale has gotten messed up thanks to streaming platforms. And they also want to try to secure their rights as writers, as opposed to AI or any like chatbot creating original content or creating content to which then they have to go in and try to clean up or polish. And we'll see what happens from there. I don't mind them striking because they're trying to fight for what they're worth. They're trying to get their pay, their due. The American, I'm going to mess this up again. The Alliance of, I believe, the AMPTP. I don't remember off the top of my head what the acronym stands for, but they are more commonly known as the studios or the different networks, which is all under the same umbrella of the AMPTP. They are still holding out. They are still negotiating. They're trying to figure out what's going on. We'll see what happens. The one thing that is a little discouraging that I've been hearing about is that the other guilds, the Directors Guild of America, the DGA, or the Screen Actors Guild, they're going to be coming up for negotiations really soon as well. And people were hoping that you were going to see some solidarity between the guilds, because let's face it, there's a lot of crossover when it comes to these guilds, writers, directors, and screen actors, that they were hoping that they were going to get some support. So far, there's been conflicting reports between the DGA and the WGA. Publicly, they seem to be kind of supporting the WGA, but behind the scenes, I think it was Paul Scheer who put up a tweet saying that he was getting a little disconcerting because he was getting some mixed messages, and it was really alarming as to what was going on. So if that's the case, we might see other guilds going on strike. And if that's the case, that's going to severely hurt Hollywood, the Hollywood machine, from making or producing any other projects at this point. So enjoy your TV shows and movies as you currently have them that are currently being released, because those are done. Those are, as they say, in the can. But anything that comes out, or at least that's supposed to be coming out soon, might be affected. So a lot of these different things, I know I mentioned Stranger Things, I know I mentioned the late night talk shows last week. Those are obviously being affected. But here, let me read down a list of a few things here. And this is all coming off of Wikipedia. I know this is not the most reliable source, and it changes from day to day, week to week, because just about anybody can edit it. But this is what I currently have, and this is what I want to read off of real quick, just to give you an idea. So right off the top, Blade from Marvel Studios and Disney. It says here, pre-production paused ahead of a planned filming start in June of 2023. Production will resume upon the conclusion of the strike. Now, I've been hearing rumors, and I don't know if this is true, but the star, Mahershala Ali, supposedly might be out, because he has already been frustrated with the different delays. I don't know if you remember back in November, they lost their director and they had to replace him, and that delayed things a little bit. And now with the writer's strike, that's going to delay things even further as they were trying to get things moving. I know pre-production had been rolling already, trying to get things in place, but If things have not been cemented yet, and let's face it, any kind of script is an ongoing thing. It's almost like a living document until the movie is actually filmed and shot, and again, in the can. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with that one. But that one's up in the air. Let's see. Another movie by the name of Good Fortune from Lionsgate. Filming was scheduled after the end of picketing on May 16th, 2023, but the picket extended past midnight with no shooting accomplished. So that's Good Fortune. A bunch of TV shows. I'm not going to go into all the different notes for every single one of them, but 911 on ABC, Abbott Elementary, ABC, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, HBO, Season 1, American Dad, majority of writing completed prior to the strike for TBS and Hulu. I have to wait and see what happens to that one. That's Season 20 for them. God, Season 20. American Horror Stories on FX. Let's see what else. Excuse me. There's two different ones here listed. American Horror Stories and Horror Story. I'm out of the loop on that one as well, so we'll see what happens on that one. Andor Season 2. Early reports erroneously indicated production was unaffected. See, there you go. Things that are working right now. I mean, if even if it's production. So, all right, let me go a little bit further into this one. So, if the writers are on strike and they're outside picketing and I don't want to say protesting, but they're picketing and they're hoping to get negotiations done for their team, the WGA, a lot of other unions or a lot of other groups are showing solidarity by not doing anything as well. So if you got writers that are on strike, you've got actors that are not willing to cross the picket line. They're like, look, they put the words in my mouth. How can I not support them? At least that's what some of them have been saying. Same thing with some of the directors. I know the Duffers, again, I mentioned before, they want to get back to work with their crew, but they're going to show support and solidarity by also not going to work right now. So we have to wait and see what happens. What else? Big Mouth, I know I mentioned last week. Billions on Showtime. Bunked for Disney Channel. The Chi, Showtime. Cobra Kai. The Connors. Daredevil, Born Again, I mentioned that one last week. Evil from Paramount Plus. Family Guy, again, majority of the writing completed prior to the strike. So, all right, so that's even another one. Let me go back again. Even though they have things mostly written, they're not going to go back in there and go, okay, well, this is 75% written. Let's just get it up to like close to 100 and maybe they can use that. No, there was Neil Gaiman, currently running three different things, three different projects. I believe it's Good Omens, Sandman, and I'm blinking on the third one for some reason. My brain's not working. But Neil Gaiman himself was wearing a pen. I can't get words out tonight. Was wearing a shirt himself saying, "Pencils the fuck down." So, I mean, you heard that if you ever taken a test before, where they have to fill in those little annoying bubbles, the Scantron sheets, I think they used to call them. Put your pencils down. No more work until this is over. So once the strike is resolved and things have been finally negotiated, signed, announced, and then they can go back to work declaring that it's over, nobody's writing anything. Unless, don't get me wrong, unless you're an independent writer or in the indie scene. You can work for yourself. That's fine. But you cannot get somebody else to work right now who's a guild member. That's not cool right now. So that's been a point of contention that's been coming up where people are saying, well, podcasts are still going out there and different shows that are showing up. Yes, a lot of that stuff is independently made. There's little to no writing, and that's, self-contained. If you and a buddy want to put something together, you can work for yourselves and produce and put something out. Nobody's saying you can't do it for yourself. This is the studios and the Writers Guild. So keep that in mind, all right? Let's see here. FBI Most Wanted, The Good Doctor, Good Trouble, Grey's Anatomy, Hacks, The Handmaid's Tale, High Potential, The Last of Us Season 2. Nothing's been mentioned as far as notes yet, but let's put it this way. That one, the groundwork has been laid down for The Last of Us Season 2. Everybody knows if you play the games or if you follow the narrative of the games, you have an idea where the show's going to go. Season 1 gave us a few twists and turns, some omissions and additions that the original story didn't have. But, again, before they can do anything as far as fleshing out those story ideas, this has to be resolved. Loot Season 2 and The Mandalorian. I mean, that's pretty much to be expected. Night Court, Not Dead Yet. The Penguin, I don't even know what the heck that is. HBO Max. I'll have to check that out. Power Book 2, Ghost. Power Book 3, Rising Kanan. I believe I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Pretty Little Liars. P-Valley, The Rookie. Premiere pushed to mid-season with possibility of a shorter season. There's another thing that you have to look out for. Usually you get those 22, 23 episodes, maybe. The following seasons might be a little bit shorter. Usually it's season 1 that's a short order, though, like 10, 15, whatever the case is. Then second season they expand and they might double it just because they're trying to make up for what the first season didn't have. We'll see what happens. Severance, Sinking Spring, Station 19, Stranger Things, I mentioned before, Unstable, The Upshaws, The Venery of Samantha Bird, While You Were Breeding, that's on Freeform, okay. Will Trent on ABC, and Yellow Jackets, Season 3 on Showtime. I mentioned before the talk shows, Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Late Night with Seth Meyers, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Real Time with Bill Maher, The Talk, and The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon, unfortunately, has come into under some backlash because he posted up a picture of himself on, I think it was Twitter, that he's pretty much just sitting around doing nothing, playing Zelda on his Switch. Good, that's not a bad thing. I mean, you're enjoying your downtime, that's fine. You can do that. You have money, you've got security financially. But these guys out there that are your writers and workers, they currently are not getting paid. So Twitter and social media has pretty much attacked them, saying, pay your writers, pay your employees, blah, blah, blah. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I know a lot of these guys did pay initially, as a lot of their staff was going unpaid. They were footing the bill themselves. So let's not attack all the celebrities. They're not all douches. So I don't know about Jimmy Fallon. I can't speak to that. But I'm just saying, maybe he doesn't deserve all the backlash. Again, we'll have to wait and see. And I'm sure he'll cover it at some point. Other projects. The MTV movie and TV. Oh, did I say that right? I couldn't even get that one out. The MTV Movie and TV Awards for 2023. That one went pretty much pre-taped. There was no written skits. There was no bits that were performed on stage. Everything was phoned in via video message or pre-tape, whatever the case is. I didn't watch it, but I heard it was not the most ideal situation. But look, if you're going to put on a show, because they say, the old adage in theater, the show must go on. They tried their best. They did all this beforehand. I would hate to see the behind the scenes, the scramble of trying to get all these different people to say, hey, look, can you send in a pre-tape message, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever the case is, saying thank you for this award or thank you for this honor or here's your nominees, whatever the case is, because that just sounds like a fucking nightmare. I mean, granted, now a lot of the things are done remotely, but still, to try to coordinate all those different things. Did you get Tom Cruise? Did you get Drew Barrymore? All the things back and forth. I do believe it was Drew Barrymore that actually said she would not be doing the hosting duties for the show due to the writer's strike, which is, again, pretty awesome of her to say, hey, look, I'm not doing this due to everything else. But that was a big one for that to be. I mean, your thoughts on MTV aside, whatever the case is, as far as music television nowadays. But for them to take that kind of hit, but they said, hey, we're going to still put something out there. We'll see. AFI Life Achievement Award, 50th Daytime Emmy Awards, 76th Tony Awards, Peabody Awards, Netflix's upfronts for 2023. These are just examples of different things that have been affected so far. Again, these aren't just shows that you would normally watch. These are award shows where they usually give some notoriety and recognition to some people in the different fields. So just to show you how far-reaching any one of these guilds can affect when they do decide that they're going to strike because they don't think they're being, their employees are not being treated fairly. So that's just an example of what could happen there. Let's see if anything else. Films, Captain America, New World Order, Filming commenced prior to the strike, so let's hope they don't need any rewrites on the fly. Deadpool 3. Fantastic Four. Production could be affected if the strike lasts more than 6 months. We'll see what happens. Good Burger 2 on Paramount Plus might be affected. Superman Legacy from Warner Brothers. First draft of the screenplay completed prior to the strike. Doesn't matter. There's always rewrites. I don't care how good you are, James Gunn. Guardians was fun, but let's face it, everybody gets rewrites. The first draft is never the final product. It always gets rewritten. Thunderbolts from Disney. And untitled fourth Psych film from Peacock. I'm assuming they're referring to Psych for the old TV series. TV series, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, Good Omens Season 2, House of the Dragon, iCarly, Interview with the Vampire from AMC, Phineas and Ferb on, I guess that's a Nickelodeon project, but where would they, I guess maybe Netflix? We'll see what happens. Rap Shit, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Welcome to Derry, and Wonder Man was a Disney Plus show that was being taken care of. And I mentioned before the different talk shows, Gutfeld, Live with Kelly and Mark, Tamron Hall, Drew Barrymore Show, The Kelly Clarkson Show, and The View. The View, this is largely unscripted, no duh. They've gotten into their own problems here and there. Jeopardy! Hosting duties assumed by co-host Ken Jennings following the withdrawal of Mayim Bialik. Again, showing solidarity and support. Decided to not take on the duties for a little bit, even though there's been a lot of weird stuff going on over at Jeopardy. So, whatever the case is. Wheel of Fortune does not employ WGA writers. And the WWE made the list. Look at that. Does not employ WGA writers. That is very true. So, I know in the past I've talked about the WWE and some of the way that they treat their in-ring workers, but also people behind the scenes. At one point, they strayed away from your typical WWE writers, or I should say wrestling writers, because of the way matches are usually structured. There's a lot of psychology when it comes to matches and how you would create a feud and let it run for 6 months to a year, maybe longer, depending. Losses mean nothing in the world of professional wrestling because you can always get your revenge. You can always get your payback, whatever the case is. It always builds the chase around the belt or around whatever feud that they have going on. So at one point, people kept referring to wrestling or pro wrestling, especially back during the Attitude Era or the Monday Night Wars of WWE taking on WCW, was that wrestling is just a soap opera for men. And they're not wrong. Because at that point in time, the demographic was mostly male, and they were just catering to their lust for blood and violence and being able to, flip your bird, flip your boss the bird, that kind of thing. And they decided, well, let's try to branch out a little bit, and they started employing different writers that would have more story background, more like TV or Hollywood background, just to get a different flavor or different approach to it. And that's where storytelling changed for better or worse within the WWE. That's where you had the long-term feuds kind of compacted into a couple months. That's where you had these weird changeovers for some of the characters, where you would have one wrestler come out as a persona, and then 3 or 4 months after a return, maybe from an injury or something, if you haven't seen him in a while, to come back with a completely different look and a completely different style. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. Adam Rose, the Adam Rose Express or whatever, Ecstasy Express, excuse me. That whole thing, it started off hot. It was great. He came down with his little entourage and everything else. Everybody's dressed in costumes and, vibrant costumes and lights and whatever the case was. And then he got over pretty big, but then it dwindled and it went downhill. And then his character became spiteful and angry. And do you remember Adam Rose? Do you remember the Ecstasy Express? Or did I just give you something to check out on YouTube for a rabbit hole? Go check it out. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. It's interesting to see what happens, but it's also interesting to find out that they don't employ WGA workers. I mean, I'm sure they don't want to deal with a union of writers. They already have to deal with union workers when it comes to different venues, as far as setups and everything else. So I can I wonder how it would affect the WWE if they did get WGA writers. They would probably get better writing overall. Because let's face it, if you're in the guild, you've paid your dues and you've made your bones essentially, so you can actually go out there and do your thing. But again, that's a different story for another time. But again, that's where all of this is currently going. The WGA and all the people that they represent, they want to get those two things taken care of. Residuals for streaming platforms and how they get paid, the different pay structures. They want to make sure that it's no longer a gig economy and that they can actually support themselves, put a roof over their heads, feed themselves, and not have to worry that they have to do 2, 3, maybe 4 jobs in a year just to keep things going. Because you would get one of these jobs, it'll last about 6 to 8 months. And then once you do your writing chores, they say thank you, and that's it. And then you're left to watching the show or episode premiere on whatever streaming platform. Netflix is the one that comes to mind for me the most. But imagine being able to write an episode of Stranger Things. You turn your episode or episodes in, and then they say, thanks, it's been great working with you. Show premieres this summer, whatever the case is. And then you just sit back and watch. You got paid already. Don't get me wrong. Hopefully you got paid well. But then you have to start looking for the next job, the next writer's room that's going to take you. And sometimes those aren't guarantees. You'll be out of work for a few months, maybe half a year, maybe 2. There's a lot of people who will get into the realm of writing, and then it just doesn't work out long term, and then that's it. They have to find something else. Though they might pivot to another part of the entertainment sector. You know, maybe they might get into makeup. Maybe they might get into working on one of the crews, whatever the case is. Maybe they might become a cameraman. Maybe they might become a producer or director if they know what they're doing. Those are no guarantees, though. You've got to figure out what you need to do to get the job done. So, more power to them. Again, I hope they can figure it out. I hope they can get it all negotiated, and hopefully the studios will relent. Because, again, I go back to Netflix, but a lot of other streamers don't give out their ratings. Yeah, they'll say how many hours they were watched. Yeah, they'll say top 10, whatever the case is, but we don't know how many people are actually watching. We don't know the actual numbers. Subscriber numbers will give us something to go off of. Disney Plus, the streaming platform for Disney itself, has been suffering because there's been a lot of people who've been canceling their subscriptions for Disney Plus. Whether there's things that are there for them to watch or not. I mean, I prefer it because I get the chance to catch up on any MCU movie that comes out. Granted, I watch it in the theater, but if I want to watch it again, it's always fun. I did not watch Avatar: Way of Water in the theaters. Things were a little busy at the time. But I'm happy to hear that early June it will be out, so I will definitely be watching that, and I might give my thoughts on it then. We'll see what happens. Earlier tonight, I was happy to watch Quantumania with the wife. She had not been able to go out to the theater herself. She watched the kids while I went out. Very kind of her. But she liked it. She enjoyed it. It had its moments here and there. For anybody who's watched Quantumania, I'm sure you've read the different reviews out there. It's not the best performing MCU movie out there. The script itself has its faults, and let's not even get into the whole visual representation of MODOK. That was something completely different out of left field. But again, it was fun for what it is. It was also given a big task of setting up a lot of different things. And I don't know if it came off as well as they were hoping. The second and third weeks for it in the theaters showed that it didn't do so well. So people were turning their backs on it. But I'm curious to see how it does on streaming platform, because now you're subscribed. If you're subscribed to Disney Plus, you can easily just watch it and say whether you like it or not from the comfort of your home. So I might watch it again just to go over some of the details I may have missed. So we'll see how that one turns out. As I mentioned, Way of Water. But yeah, their subscribers, they're losing a few here and there. And that's usually after a big series wraps up. So Mandalorian wrapped up again. So whoever re-upped watched those episodes, and now they're going away. Disney did mention that when they release Echo later in this year, that apparently they're going to release all the episodes in one shot rather than week to week, which is kind of interesting because that's something that Netflix does. So are they going to abandon the weekly model where week by week, like Andor, that was something I mentioned earlier, or Mandalorian, they were releasing episodes every week, like every Wednesday or every Thursday, you'll get a new episode. Are they going to abandon that altogether and just say, hey, look, here's all the episodes, enjoy, have fun? Maybe people will forget that, like, oh, the season's over, I can just cancel my subscription. Or maybe people will just binge it real fast and then they'll cancel. Who knows? We have to wait and see how that all turns out. And we have to see what direction they're going to go in. Disney itself has been having, I don't want to get into the political fight they're having down in Florida, but the company itself has been making a lot of different cuts, a lot of different decisions. And that's just because, again, we're in an unstable economy and things are kind of fragile. Really, that's really what it comes down to. So they're cutting jobs, they're cutting different projects. Never mind the legal battles that are now going down in Florida between the governor and Disney itself, Bob Iger. So they're just trying to figure things out, and I don't blame them. Like, there's a lot going on. And what was the one story I read? The Star Wars immersive hotel experience, where you can actually go to the Galactic Star Cruiser and have an immersive experience. You can have lightsaber training. You can have characters in full costume come up to you and speak to you, interact with you. That's going away. It was like a $4,000 a night for like a family of like 3 or 4, something like that. It's ridiculously expensive, and it's not doing well. So in September, they're going to close that down. That's not unheard of, though. If attractions aren't doing well, or if things just are not financially stable, they will pull back on it. And people are saying, oh, just scale it back, make it less expensive. No. Do you understand how much it costs to put that all together? If they scale back the prices, they're going to lose more money. So they said, you know what? Through the summertime, it'll run. Come September, we'll close it down. And they'll repurpose that spot. They'll find something else to put there. Be it another ride, another attraction, hell, maybe even another hotel. Who knows? So they're trying to do their own thing and see what they can come up with right now. And it's going to be across the board. Even with the writer's strike, again, I think I mentioned last week that the last time that we had a writer's strike was the last time we had a recession. So are the two going to go hand in hand? We have to wait and see. Because people have been talking about a recession for like the better part of the year and a half to 2 years now. Saying, oh, it's coming. Some people believe that we're in it currently. But we have to wait and see. All that stuff it's unsure, unstable, and you don't know. It's easier to go look back on hindsight and go, oh, look, I called it. That's what I was talking about the entire time, but you don't know. So, again, if you have thoughts, shoot us a tweet, comment, email, rabblecast@gmail.com, @rabblecast. Let me know what's going on. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to figure out what's happening here, because as I read through the news, it's, again, you can read through the different reporting, but all you're getting is information. You might get a few opinions here and there on the editorials, whatever the case is, but you're not going to get a cut and dry answer. And until things are said and done, that's pretty much it. And my Xbox in the background telling me that it's going to shut off soon. So again, we watch Quantum Mania. It's a lot of fun. You know what? But let me talk about something that's more on a positive note. If you have not watched on Disney Plus, if you have not watched Muppets Mayhem, do yourself a favor. It's 10 episodes. I think they're like 20, 25 minutes a piece. The premise of the show is that Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem have been around for 50 years now. And for as much as they've performed, they were, early on the Muppet Show, they became the show band. They always pop up in the different movies for the Muppets and everything else. But Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem have never really had a backstory. They've never really been fleshed out, so to speak. And they've never had an album. That's the premise of this whole show. And the show from start to finish is very well written. The jokes are so sly and under the radar for adults and for kids. It's very well put together. And the cameos left and right. I mean, they just keep hitting you each episode. Different people show up. People that you wouldn't expect. People that you would expect. They just keep coming and coming and coming. And the way the show is built is fantastic. So the one worker for I'm blanking on everything right now. Jesus. The one girl named Nora works for a record company, and she's trying to, climb the corporate ladder, trying to get up there. And she goes to her boss, Penny, who's another Muppet, who apparently has some involvement with the Electric Mayhem at one point. She's trying to say, hey, look, I can get this band to make an album. They owe us an album per their contract, and that'll save the company, blah, blah, blah. So she goes out there and she tries to wrangle the Mayhem. And then once she gets them going, she's trying to figure out how to get them to record something in the studio. But the problem is they never go. They don't like rules. They don't like structure. And it just becomes chaos because they are the Mayhem, let's face it. But you get a lot of backstory. You find out where Animal came from. You find out where Dr. Teeth started. You find out where Floyd Pepper and he met together. You find out more about Lips, who really had not had any dialogue other than mana mana. Now he actually has more to do. Zoot, like all these characters are so well written, and this show is so funny that you can't not watch it and not crack a smile. The one thing I did read that was kind of interesting is the only original performer for all the Muppets, as far as the Mayhem are concerned, is Zoot. And that performer, way back when, was reluctant to take on the role, but he's the only one still doing that original role. It's been 40 years since he's taking it on. I can't speak tonight. So again, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to hit, but I implore you, check it out. You get to see the Muppets, or the Muppeteers, I should say, the performers, do their thing. There's a lot of funny cold opens. There's a lot of funny jokes. I'm trying to think of all the different people who show up. I mean, they drop a lot of names as well, but they have people show up left and right. Kevin Smith shows up. Charlemagne and the God shows up. Cheech and Chong make a funny appearance. Oh gosh, who else? I'm so blanking right now. There's so many that show up. They make fun of different fans out there. The Swifties, the ones for Beyonce, the Beehive, whatever the case is. There's a point in time where they're trying to do a digital concert where the Electric Mayhem is playing in Minecraft, and all of the different fans from all these big groups suddenly converge on them, and it's up to the Electric Mayhem to try to convert the fans so they're not just being attacked, they actually become fans and listen. It's such a great episode, or series. Check it out. I especially recommend the episode where they go out to Joshua Tree and they try some marshmallows that are past due on the expiration date, and some really funky things happen. Something that I did not think you would see in a Muppet, let alone a Disney show. But again, jokes under the radar. They did a really good job with it. So if you get a chance, Muppet Mayhem. They also give a little explanation why they no longer refer to it as Dr. Teeth in the Electric Mayhem. They just go by the Electric Mayhem by the end of the show. It's a lot of fun. It's silliness. And I'm happy that it was put together. I'm hoping anybody out there who was a fan of the Muppets might have fallen out of love with the Muppets. Maybe this might rekindle something for you, because it's so, again, well written and silly. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't know much more I can get into that without getting a little dour with everything else that's going on. So, Muppets Mayhem. We'll leave it at that. And we'll see what happens. Again, 17 years. Thank you if you've been listening from episode 1. Awesome. Appreciate it. Keep it going. I hope that this is a rewarding experience for you. And if you're brand new, stay tuned, because other things are coming down the line, and hopefully we can get more things going. That's about it. Thank you very much. And as always, remember, we are the Rabblecast.